Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Magic and Miracles, where you learn how to be the magician of your life. My name is Anna, and I created Magic and Miracles in order to help people of all walks of life achieve their manifestation goals. All information from me is below. Understand that in order to be in my coaching, you need to book a 1 hour session first to make sure the match is correct between the two of us. I prefer you get familiar with my work on YouTube and watch or listen to more than one video/audio. And really understand I'm very direct. I don't dilly-dally. I really require that you come humble, open, ready to rock and roll, ready to work, and open to feedback, open to truth, open to my suggestions. I've created the signature coaching program specifically for the YouTube audience. Having been a coach now for 10 years, I've assembled all of the methods, all of the teachings, and all of the practices that are really powerful and that I've crafted and made sure that they work throughout the years of being a coach, tweaking every single detail. So out of the thousands of people that I've helped, 90% of the time, the person succeeds. Now, I recommend 2 to 3 months in coaching with me. You might need more, depends on a case, or you might just need 2 months. If you are resistant to these methods, understand it's just not going to work. Perhaps somebody else. I'm very direct and straightforward, and I'm really focused on your results at the end of the coaching. I really don't care, with all due respect, what you think you have done before. If you haven't been through my coaching, you haven't done it correctly. So my process is very simple, kind of resembles a little bit therapy, but it isn't therapy because I'm allowed to give you honest feedback and direction. So we begin with covering your history. We process the emotions behind that old timeline that you absolutely need to heal and revisit. I don't understand how people talk in the community that you cannot, that it's not worth going back there or it's dangerous to go back there. No, this is where the healing lies, my darling. So you absolutely need to cover that. And again, 90% of the time, almost, I want to say 95% of the time, actually, not to brag, but especially off of YouTube, the clients that I have not, even having done therapy, years in therapy, process the emotions the way that they're really supposed to. It hasn't been done. It was just very surface level. And so this is what I do in coaching with many, again, different exercises, etc., etc. Upon processing those emotions, then we embark on this journey of me teaching you how to effectively manifest. I teach you energy work, which no coach teaches anywhere on YouTube or anywhere that I know of the way that I do, because I've done my research again for the last 15 years of my own journey. And that is something I swear by. This is something I've developed, and it helps tremendously people of all walks of life again. So at the end of the coaching, I want to see you stable. I want to see you understand everything I taught you. I want you to quantum leap to your desired reality. Now, I don't just coach in SP questions or situations, I should say, but in all other areas. This is important for me to point out that I don't just coach in SP in my coaching. Excuse me, I cover your entire life. Okay, so if I see that, let's just say we need to work on what it is you want to do with your living situation or your working situation in order to upgrade your self-esteem, then it's my job as a coach. And I'm shocked that people don't do this, but this is an absolute must. I mean, it's up to you to refuse this advice, but I always stress on, where is your personal kind of worth and self-esteem is at. This is what's necessary for you to manifest your SP. So it's kind of like, it's really actually life coaching. But I understand that a lot of people get attracted to coaching period because of their SP problems. So just to set some expectations, the kind of thorough and detail oriented work that I do. If you have any questions, please email me directly. So for whatever reason, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning in New York. I'm so tired. Actually, and I could not talk it down recording this because I don't know. It's an audio. I was started writing notes for this, but I thought I was going to record a video, but wasn't inspired to do that. It's an audio. Okay, so before I get into the topic that I'm really inspired to cover, I wanted to address something. I know a lot of you are curious about the legal situation I'm in, and I can't really comment on it as you would understand. But all I can say is to answer why did I manifest this. I have my personal conclusions. I've come to my personal realizations, but essentially, you have to understand I have so many projects going on at the same time, and Magic and Miracles was my passion project. It was never supposed to become what it is today. I simply wanted to record audios for people during COVID to uplift them, to really kind of help them. And I already had a practice of mine outside YouTube. As I've mentioned, I've been a coach for 10 years. And I really didn't think much of it. And that's kind of it. And I guess the situation reminded me that I really should take my genius seriously. And this is what I encourage everybody to do. But it was an oversight. I should have paid more attention. And that's just the honest truth. I never said I was perfect or anything like that, especially when you have, this as a kind of passion project. You really don't pay that much attention. You don't, you don't put some things in place that would protect you and this and that and the other. Having said that, at the same time, and I'll share this now, so as to, pacify you that I don't pretend to be perfect or anything like that. There was a moment right before where I realized that I'm connecting with people on YouTube in a very magical way, the God's honest truth. And it really meant a lot to me. I'm like getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. I had no idea that you guys would like me this much. I'm so honest. And it was very nice. It was very sweet. And like I said, I didn't come to YouTube for validation. It was just to help. God's honest truth. So to me, that was really the cherry on top of, on top of everything that I already had. And so, and besides, I've never done as much channeling as I've done for my channel, if that makes any sense. And the more I was channeling this intensely in this kind of capacity, back to back to back, and needless to say, when you do something so much, then you become better and better at it. And at some point, and this I'm going to share with you now, like I said, I said to myself under my breath, okay, and this is what we kind of discussed with Katya in the live. Go watch it if you haven't, the last live with Katya. I just said under my breath, you know what? This is so good. I said this to myself. This is so good. This comes out so good out of me, the channeling, because I can't claim, to all of it. I'm channeling. I was honest about it. I was like, this is so good. Somebody's going to get jealous and try to fuck with me. That's exactly what I said. Now, parenthesis here. I have this belief that everything works out in my favor. And so we'll just let, the federal court take care of it. And that's all I'm going to say. I think it's, we'll just leave it at that. So I can't comment, and please respect that. When I'll have something to say, it will be shared. All right, so now off to the topic. Oh, and I made a wish simultaneously to make. Oh, I didn't mention that part. I made a wish simultaneously with that uttering to actually help magic and miracles be more spread, for more people to find out about it. What I omitted was how that would happen. So I'm probably, again, an oversight, too much going on for a creative person. And the thing is, like, I really appreciate that it means so much to you. But you have to understand my perspective. This is a sneeze for me. I never thought that I never thought that somebody would be so foolish. And that's all I'm going to say. So the topic of today is playing your SP like God / deja vu method. So for whatever reason, I'm so super duper inspired to share this thought. And so this is basically remembering who you really are, right? And a lot of people talk about it, you're mostly God, just partially human, blah, 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 blah. But what does that really mean? I think if you want to create like a God, you have to think in unlimited terms. In unlimited terms completely, not in your human minds. So this is something to actually stretch this exercise for your mind to begin to challenge yourself and your limitations as you automatically go to them. And notice, first of all, in your most immediate surroundings, what confirms those limitations, and try to the best of your ability to get rid of those people, situations or events or things that continue confirming to you your limitation. I'll give you an example. That means saying goodbye to the limited thinking friend, for example, that always brings you down, all right? That doesn't really respect your opinion. Saying no to lowering your standards, okay? Saying no to being a social media junkie. Saying no to a lot of things that completely contradict choosing for yourself the kind of reality you want to live in. In other words, owing no explanation about the fact that last night, you fell asleep as one version of yourself. But this morning, just because you are playing God, indeed, you are selecting a different reality altogether by presenting yourself as a different person. Now, parenthesis here, I always want to remark at this point in juncture of my audio that it's not being psychotic about it. This is actually selecting a parallel version of yourself, okay? So if you were thinking in limited terms, saying goodbye to that completely and actually selecting that parallel reality precisely that will serve your desire, essentially. Saying goodbye to the old way of operating your world in your world. The same standards don't apply. Suddenly something changed. Nothing happens on the outside. It happens on the inside. The quality of thinking just went up and you're no longer willing to put up with the same level of bullshit. You're going to demand it of yourself and you're going to demand it of others. In other words, you're thinking of yourself highly and choosing to do so. You can be the same exact person, 3D speaking, as the one that went to bed last night. And this morning, seemingly so, you're still the same person on the outside. But on the inside, something just clicked in where it's kind of like, most people is like, I've had enough. Enough is enough. This is the day that I make a change. Okay, what do I want instead? So it's essentially disconnecting somewhat from that human self that continues insisting that things need to kind of like make sense and be the same from minute to minute. No, that's kind of like a really obsolete idea we kind of need to start parting with, okay? From minute to minute, you're literally not the same person. So, obviously overnight you could change into another person. And I guess this is playing God, selecting that reality, tapping into that reality, presenting it to yourself in vivid, specific details enough for you to access it. The way I visualize it, excuse me, for example, is I watch kind of like a movie frame float out of the infinity into my 360 bubble. Okay, that reality that I'm, yes, visualizing, overhearing, and all this kind of stuff, and now it's plugged into my 360 bubble. So however you're visualizing it, you must present it to yourself for your human mind to start tapping into it, excuse me, and therefore feeling into, getting a sense of, okay, how am I feeling in this situation, right? So notice how there's no discussion of what was before. Does it make sense? Is this too soon? The time aspect of it. The only thing is, like, are you letting this in and voluntarily suspending your disbelief about this not being possible? I mean, you're not really suspending your disbelief, actually. You're just more reforming how you used to understand manifestation before. Okay, it's nothing but a gigantic, endless library of different realities coexisting side by side, right? So the present, past, and future coexist, right? Like Einstein said, and all that kind of jazzy bluesy stuff. So all you really have to become good at as a creator is being able to detach easily, emotionally, from a certain reality that doesn't please you, and doing it on command. Now, of course, how do you do it on command when you've never done this before? This is what we cover in coaching. You can't just switch, okay? Therefore, there's no instant switch. But to be able to become this kind of like a maestro where you get to play whatever note pleases you, yeah, I mean, there's some practice. But floating above it, being the god, instead of getting engaged in drama, trauma, panorama, and sure, the human part of you will, but the goal essentially is to, I guess people call it detachment somewhat, not so much. For me, it doesn't accurately describe what I'm talking about, is being able on command to select an emotion that's associated with that parallel reality. There's all sorts of different tonalities to different realities that contain specific elements that would please you. Certain kind of scenario feels a certain kind of way, still happy, but has other kind of happy notes in it, if you will. Don't know quite how else to describe it. Still happy, still a good feeling, but feels differently. There's certain kind of components that describe that parallel reality from the other. And so this is your art form at the end of the day. So because though, perhaps today you're stuck in one timeline, okay, and it kind of looks like the same parallel reality over and over again. It really isn't, but it's just a bunch of them all together. Is because you're not able to drop something super fucking heavy that's standing in your way on the way to what it is that you say you want to manifest. And it's usually something people have become usually so good at hiding this something from themselves. It takes them a minute to even admit it, basically. They're not trying to lie, but it's difficult, and I understand and I sympathize. But that's what needs to change. You need to become the artist, the maestro of your emotions, and play them like on a piano, like on keys. Now, again, this does not entail becoming hurtful or manipulative or psychotic or anything like that, but that you can introduce a different emotion and change reality according to your tune. This is what the conversation is about. To create like a god, you must play like a god. And so understanding that none of this is so serious, flying above it all and commanding the events and people, really just matter of factly. I think it's the matter of factness of it that really is so powerful, because you now understanding you are the golden Buddha and your one touch moves worlds. This is why it's so counterproductive when you're trying, because you kind of like really screaming to the universe, I'm very powerless. This is why I need to try and try and try. Just one touch of that matter of fact desire or pronouncement without sinking in into directly into drama, trauma, panorama, because it's kind of like, so notice, one golden touch, you transfer yourself into another world where your desire exists. One golden touch, and then followed up by all the fears and insecurities that completely murk the energy and, cancel out the desire. And that's what a lot of people are doing. But if you just gently touch the desire with your golden touch, and it lights up with your energy, just like that. And it lit up. You know that somewhere in the quantum field, just something lit up. It's kind of like, Amazon's order is on the way. Tracking order just got emailed to your email. Hilarious. So just understand how much power you have. Your one touch can affect the course of events right in front of your eyes. You're not really trying, though, to affect it, but you're just watching it being affected by your decisions. Because there's an assumption, there's an understanding, it's understood that your power reigns supreme in your universe. That should be an undisputed belief. I reign supreme. So either way I reign supreme. So how am I reigning? How is my kingdom doing so far? Kind of deal. Or am I being too much of a human? Am I not being God enough? So in my estimation, it should be like, like I always say, for me, and that's what I would suggest, 95% of the time, you should be happy. You should. The other percentages, 10 or 5%, you're allowed your human self, and it's absolutely natural that you're going to feel emotions. In fact, I've always encouraged my clients and on my channel to express emotions. I think it's very unrealistic and absolutely crazy to expect people to just shove their emotions down. I mean, don't do it destructively, but do it constructively. But nevertheless, the emotions, they need to be expressed, not, piled away, again, making a mess in the middle of your living room, representing your mind. But if the human side of you is taking over the percentages, then that's when there's piled up garbage in the living room kind of situation. There's too much of it now. Cookies, they need to be cleaned out of your device and this and that. Because the purity of your vessel, just as a body, as a consciousness, as a mind, like even, like I cleaned my office on purpose for many reasons, but mainly to clean it, really. But I wanted to find some things also along the way. This is a representation of arranging the mind, the body, the consciousness to accept new energy, new ideas, new opportunities, new possibilities, new money, new love, whatever, all of that stuff. You feel so much lighter. And it becomes your normal routine. Like upon going through my coaching, you will understand how you really should just feel your emotion in that moment, process it, and let it go right there and then. And then it becomes like your life just becomes, this is why you're able to elevate your godly self, instead of being more down here kind of deal. There needs to be a balance, no doubt, but if for the majority of the time you're in the creative and receiving mode and everything just flows into your experience, you're mostly being God, okay? And that is the place to be. And you're simply floating above all of the myriads of all of these parallel realities, just kind of like observing, what am I after? What do I want my SP to do? How much money? What kind of promotion? All of these things. Giving yourself kind of like the bird's eye view of life in advance. What are the options? Let's explore all of these parallel realities and make it as vivid to yourself as possible. Now, some people, maybe visualization is not their strongest suit. We go over that in coaching. As a substitute, we develop other methods to really create the same kind of vividness for you, whatever works for you. So I always custom make my coaching for you. It's only the human part of you that is ever worried. The God part of you, which should be the biggest part, like I said, because, well, it's the only part anyway, but still. The God in you already knows. Just already always knew kind of deal. And if you tune in into that invincibility, in that infinite kind of feeling of everything is here now. So the real question then becomes, what the fuck do I want? And can I tap into it and stay there to catch enough in that reality, in my meditation, let's just say, to catch the feeling of that reality. And then just for the fuck of it, to revisit it, and for no other reason other than it feels really magnificent, and realize that some of that reality is now coming over here into your reality. So that's how you get evidence. But most people are so fucking impatient and or put so many barricades in front of them and argue for their limitations and or argue with their coaches sometimes how much work they have done or they may have done, or that it should be here already. You see, it's all time fucking wasted. You should be playing God. And it's a thing to unlearn, to become less human and become more God. It's a lot more simpler though, guys, like a lot more simpler. So the deja vu method then becomes you select the reality and essentially you fast forward yourself into the future in your imagination, obviously. But everything is imagination, so what's imagination but reality? You fast forward yourself into the future in which you already are living that reality, the one that you prefer with your SP, money, all of that stuff. And in that reality, you think back on when you've concocted this desire. And suddenly, in that moment, you have a deja vu. Does this make sense to everybody? This actually happened to me starting in my childhood. And what I realized then, and this is kind of like a method to use in many different ways, is that we already have lived everything, all sorts of lives, everything. But for some reason, this is why none of this is serious. For some reason, you're here. Your consciousness is zoomed in on this particular lifetime. This particular problem happens to be your task, like a homework kind of situation, very much like mine in coaching. For some reason, this is your task this time around. And your consciousness is revisiting this for nothing else but entertainment only. Can I tell you something? Nothing else but entertainment only. And this is something that, my guides told me in my dreams over and over again. It's just for fun. All of this is just for fun. It's not that serious. So, are you learning anything at the end of the day? That's the most important kind of question. If you are learning something, if you're deriving understanding how you're creating, then it's all okay. You're in control. Even if things, whatever, don't appear to go your way, you always end up deriving the benefit from it because you've learned something from it and therefore you grew and, great. I'm so grateful for everything, that every single time somebody tried to do something, I ended up winning and coming out on top. And it's not just because I like to win, although of course, but I my kind of like my limits stretched. The people who pissed me off the most, they kind of really pushed me, and for that, it's like thank you so much. I'm really really grateful, because I probably would have I don't know, would have made other choices. I thrive on challenges and this and that, and I very much, yeah, I'm grateful. There's nothing but gratitude in my heart, and I think that's kind of like, the attitude with things that, yeah, especially the most difficult ones. And I know how hard it is, trust me, because of course we're all human at the end of the day as well. And but that's the thing, right? Can you become that godlike that you transcend all of it and turn it into magic and miracles? Thank you very much for listening. All the information again from me is below. Until next time, ciao ciao.